that's the thing, because teams can review, teams can try to make those adjustments and implement new strategies, but how much of it is actually going to be structured?
Virgo, no, they're doing worse while unconned. That's brutal. That's a top 8 team.
The other adjustments that similar teams, similar mindsets, everybody is looking to try and change things up here, at least if day one wasn't working out in their favor.
Yeah, Baka Pars, we saw finding some knocks there in the feed on teams nearby, but couldn't.
Yeah, I think it's Sky Guy. Appreciate the raid, bro.
Damage must be ranking up nicely.
Oh, I was about to say Flixie and Vico. I saw Bolt set up on the Surge Tower.
Talk about fights for the Forecast Tower. The card is in the hands of Bryce and Bolt, whom are just outside of it. So if they want to activate it, they will have to fight their way through this duo.
At the same time, though, Clone and Kramzu might be enough of a distraction factor. Bolt and Bryce are going to look to retreat just a little bit further east from where the Forecast Tower is currently at, but...
Yo, Jay's 5 gifted, bro.
Know that they've got the prime
Well, not complete the new axe? Oh, really? What? No way they wouldn't. Oh, it's not the new axe.
Complete freebie for this Forecast Tower, but they might not have a choice, and even further
Are you
still
sure?
on the horizon, Thomas HD, Queasy, slight surge base.
Are you sure that's not the new axe? What makes you so sure?
More importantly,
I know it's the current one, just gold, but that might be what they're doing.
All day yesterday, especially with that Monarch pistol.
And we saw moments.
Wow, they just don't say anything. I mean, it's
talking about Taco. I mean, Thomas HD is a sniper with anything in his hands that does big damage.
If it's got a scope, then Thomas HD is going to be an absolute fiend with that weapon. But Bugha, Aviv, another one of our team's big fan favorites here, of course, but also just knowing that they need to try and develop some form of a new strategy. Even bumped into Aviv in the elevator earlier on today here at MDF and asked them, hey, we're looking at the comeback, and he's like, well, I hope so. And it could start here. They've already got one elimination onto Danath. It's just Tinka trying to keep his duo's hopes alive, but Bugha and Aviv, they struggled a decent bit with their surge damage, so this could be a big opportunity if they're able to pinpoint where Tinka is at. And they don't look like they want to let him go.
I'm looking at the map, though. There's a team moving in very fast here from the south now, so other opinions are going to be thrown into the conversation here. It's Asia's Job and Michael, who have now started sliding their way towards the Doom's Courtyard. So anything really can happen. It'd be wise for Bugha and Aviv to possibly make a move now, but of course, it's day 2. Strategies are being put to the test.
But Job and Michael need to be careful with the way that they're crouch walking around that rooftop. Doom's Courtyard sitting at a slightly lower elevation than some of the POIs surrounding it. And there's a high possibility a team in a surge base happens to be looking around, see some freebie opened up shots. Players not protected from behind because they're too fixated on trying to get this surprise opportunity onto Aviv and Bugha.
There's Koyota, Mipoli, Kovacs, and Huddy. A lot of teams looking to set up an ambush at the moment. Gotta love this strategy here. We haven't seen too many big plays coming out the bush just yet, but doesn't mean even a top-tier professional won't get caught off guard, given that we've seen anything happen here on the desk. But there's just no foot traffic here, given that the zone is pretty far north, it seems, north-northeast-ish at the moment.
Problem, though, for Kovacs and Huddy, since they were forced out of Rebel's Roost, they didn't actually have that time, that opportunity to properly farm out some of those much-needed hard materials. Their mat count looking a little bit grim, given the current circumstances. It's going to be hard to try and control your own mid-game. That materials to back it up is Ed, Persa tracking down solo in Nathan, but no backup this time in sight for Nathan.
Persa on the move right now. Ed pressing hot on the walls here. Nathan trying to escape. It's not looking good for Nathan or CCB. Into the box. Persa goes with Ed. Well played for them, and the Brazilian commentators are popping off on the desk right now for the Brazilian region. You love to see that for Ed and Persa here.
A lot of these players also looking for those confidence, the momentum swings that could make all the difference for these next few matches. Clear up day number 2 here. Chicho just strong connections off of that Monarch pistol. Meanwhile, Vico, Flixie find themselves a little bit of an aggressing situation here onto Clone, but with a team that knows Reckless Railways as expertly as Vico and Flixie, this split approach, they've managed to sandwich Clone in between them, and it looks like Kramzu might also be caught in the thick of it, but I like this pincer maneuver technique coming out of Vico and Flixie.
Yeah, it's working very well, but if this duo of Kramzu and Clone decide to collapse on one or the other, it can spell disaster. So we'll have to see what happens here. This is, of course, the Reckless Railways, though. This is their home turf. Armored wall comes down. This is not good for Vico. I was going to say they've cut off his backup. Flixie, look, has to work all the way around, and now he has to actually back off here. So definite mistakes being made right now. Forced to cap off HP here, given that he'll have to play this one out by himself for a couple of moments. Meanwhile, still a lurking duo nearby in CR's Michael and T1 Job there. Anything can happen, but look at how Vico unfortunately gets caught off and out of position.
There's a lot of trust that's implemented into that split technique, but more importantly still, Clone and Kramzu, they're still having to fight their way out of the Reckless Railways. One elimination might not be enough. Our international regions fully understanding they're gonna need more points to make their way up on the leaderboard standings. And Kramzu, Clone, they've still got their eyes on the prize, I believe, but Job and Michael are not making it easy. Instead, they're gonna track down Flixie, catching him from behind. That's a big pickup for Job there, saving his teammate's life.
CR Job, T1 Michael coming in, finding eliminations here. Clearly a new strategy being deployed for this duo here, given that yesterday was such a struggle for this team to get their feet off the ground. And now we're seeing a much slower approach as opposed to taking full-on head-to-head battles, almost lurking between the major drops, trying to find fights that are in action, working a lot better for them now.
But the bigger picture here at DF is that when you've got our third place team going out this early on into the match, no placement points secured, and that is a massive deal because it gives so much opportunity. It opens the door for everyone else to try and squeeze their way inside of it. Kramzu back against the wall, trying to see if he can work this way out, but it's not gonna be enough. Michael with the collapse, clean elimination, and that's gonna be 3 in total for Job and Michael.
We're seeing why this is a team that had their dominating run on the region. Again, an Asian duo coming up, really making adjustments to their strategy. It's one of the best parts about the Day 2 format that we don't get to highlight enough, right? The teams that come in and start to adapt is what makes it so crucial to really pay attention to what is changing around you. But for Peterbot and Boyo, not much has changed, given that they have continued to key their way into the Rift Island. This time, they'll met with a lot more resistance. It's about the weakest we've seen them coming into mid-game, and I mean, it makes sense. You have Zagu up top here with Shadome and Vidil and Reason here. Very strong teams, very low on the surge here for Boyo and Peterbot. I mean, everyone might just get what they've been looking for, a potential early exit here.
Oh, that was a little bit of a whiff there out of Poyo. Was probably hoping to fully connect, but Poyo, he finishes what he started, gets Reason in the process, but finds himself getting immediately gobbled up by Vidil. And now a serious 1-versus-1 situation, but keep in mind, there's so many other teams surrounding Rift Island. Peterbot, he's just hoping that he can get the revive off.
Talk about an incredible save here, but Badiao's not gonna make it easy here. Armored walls are coming out. Peterbot is desperate and boxed up right now. Zagu is also just above, putting in a couple of shots here, but things are gonna slow down. And just when you thought it was over, they get saved here. Peterbot and Boyo are back in.
But at the cost of so many of their armored walls, Peterbot had to fully utilize practically everything he had saved up. And keep in mind, they still need heals. There's no shield, at least as far as Peterbot's loadout is concerned. Possibly Poyo is carrying a couple of small shield potions, but I'd have to guess not, considering that neither of them is bothered to recover. They're just trying to tango once more with Vidil, but he will not budge.
Doing an excellent job here waiting for them. He knows it's still a 2v1, and Peterbot and Boyo are absolutely deadly here. let's not forget, they have the medallion, right? So they still have very much full awareness of who's around them, but the tags, they need more damage. They've run out of heals here. This is about the best case scenario for every other duo in the lobby if you want to win the globals, which we know very surely they do. Oyo, though, not giving up just yet. Still knows that there's a job to be done here.
At this stage, though, another issue for Peterbot and Poyo is one of their only options remaining to exit Rift Island might just be to take the Ascender down. But again, if they go for that launch pad, they might encounter even more resistance from the other teams that are a little bit more established, a little bit more healthy as well. But Poyo, Peterbot, they try to mark it off in the first place. They will break through the builds and manage to escape.
Hopefully they don't get targeted while they're flying by. A lot of teams here in the vicinity now. Peterbot going for the dive down. Poyo trying to scout where's the best spot. They're below the surge. They're gonna have to land and take a fight. It's all or nothing now. Peterbot tries to go for Dukes and Sphinx, and they go for it, but Peterbot gets knocked. It's all up to Poyo now. Everything lies on him to keep the train going here. He's gonna find a lot of tags here, just enough to keep his team in the win now. They try to box up Peterbot. They want to finish his duo. He's not trying to give it away for free. He's actually fighting with all of his heart here, and they're running for him, trying to steal his duo away, and he's going for it, but no! So close! Almost takes down Dukes as well in an incredible exchange, and first place is out. The runway is open.
Respect the meat shield performance there out of Sphinx. He knew that he was already relatively low. He could absorb at least one shot and trust that Dukes would get the job done. But a massive upset here in match 7 as 3 out of our top 5 teams already eliminated. Thomas HD, Queasy, Trulex, Chicho. Now is your chance to surge upwards.
Agers is solo at the moment inside the zone, but we gotta get the update here from Queasy and Thomas HD, who have been working their way up slowly, steadily, looking to manifest this global championships victory right before their eyes here. The tags are great from Thomas. Things are really starting to ramp up now, and we know what they're playing for, and that's that victory. We saw it in the interviews. They just want to take height.
At this stage, if they've had a chance to witness what's been going down inside of that elimination feed, Thomas HD and Queasy exclusively need to focus on their own game, just playing things out as if it's any other match. Pretend like all these other teams in the top 5 are still in the lobby, because that's what's going to give them in the mindset to stay for their best performance.
There's a lot going on right now, given that the zone's starting to develop here. It's not just high ground being held. There's also big names clashing all around us here. Take a look at how Vino jumps in, takes down Paper in the highlight. Possibly then Victor V back-to-back, but it wasn't over yet. He gets met with a crushing defeat to the hands of Quanti and Gone.
The overhead view doing an excellent job at highlighting. There's practically nowhere left to hide. Everybody is stuck on even ground just about. And what I want to see, MDF, is whether or not Queasy and Thomas are going to be able to successfully make their stake on height. Trulex and Chicho box on the low ground directly underneath them. And if these Titans clash, one or the other could potentially fold.
Well, here's the thing. Thomas HD and Queasy are two of the, again, only players left in this lobby that will notably challenge height every single time. Most of the competition that would otherwise do that is not in this lobby. I do anticipate a runaway scenario here. However, Brazil, King and Phaser hopping across, yet not even close enough to challenge them for high ground. So there's very little teams that would actually have the heart to go up, unless coming into day 2, they've decided to shift strategy.
And that was a pretty risky jump forward as well from King and Phaser, because the way that Thomas HD and Queasy have been spraying at other teams, you've got the indication that they likely have an assault rifle, so it's a lot more difficult to make those jumps from the high ground, off the Flowberry Fizz, heading towards front side of the next zone. But Spinx, Dukes, we saw them shut down our first place team on the leaderboard already here today. They're hoping to see if they can transition this into a victory royale of their own.
Spinx and Dukes through Elims. Hard eyes on the prize right now as Reese trying to slip his way from the storm line into the safety, but unfortunately is going to fall there in 19th place now. Very well within the top 20 here, as there's a lot of placement points to be earned. This is a 1.5x multiplier for everyone tuning in right now. These games have significantly more weight than yesterday's round. If there's a day you want to perform, it is here and it is now. Queasy and Thomas still working their way. Look at this build. They are willing to commit heavy material, heavy resources to hold high ground.
And what's one of the most impressive aspects of Thomas HD and Queasy's run is that they've been doing all of this without a forecast tower. They are just sheer commitment at this stage. Thomas HD continuing to try and prevent players from getting anywhere near that secondary height even, as Cooper forced to just utilize the medkits, playing from the backside of the storm and zone in general, but only a matter of time before he's spotted out as a solo.
Just a complete shakeup with the teams we're seeing alive right now as well. Bryce and Bolt keeping up the momentum from where they left off in game number 6, carrying it straight into game number 7 now. A near top 10 for Bolts here, but he will have to fight someone on the outside of zone. Trulix and Chicho, meanwhile, just running game here on the mid ground. Now looking to jump down to low. They have enough mats to do so, cutting off their opponents here. There's a lot of reaction coming here, though. You have Asia on one side of the wall, OCE on the other, fully boxed in now. They have to be careful. There's no way out. Trulix and Chicho might have signed themselves straight back to the lobby accidentally now. Oh no, having to heal here. Chicho gets caught out. One false mistake, and it will come back to haunt you here.
But
high ground.
Scope, Queasy, Thomas HD. They could tell Phaser for a moment. He got a glimpse, but he won't actually get a taste of what the high ground is like. Queasy now going to be the first to drop. He's continuing. He knows he needs a refresh. He wants more material. If he can find an elimination, if he can play the disturbance factor, he can prevent anyone from having the potential to threaten Thomas HD's current position. Thomas HD, in fact, alongside Queasy, just going to continue to try and secure as many eliminations as possible.
We are witnessing greatness right now as Thomas HD and Queasy are putting on a masterclass from the high ground here. Doing a very good job now securing eliminations, starting to rack up. Queasy will have to get those mats there. Has to jump to the tree. He sends Thomas HB down. They're starting to start cutting off the teams here. Completely new duos in the conversation as well. It's Zagu and King and Phaser now. That's all that's left in a clean 2v2 here.
But the zone pool, Thomas HD and Queasy, they made it to the top of the hill. Phaser is going to have to find his way up. Thomas HD instantly puts him down. Queasy with the cleanup as well, and a victory royale finish.
We expect it, and now they're performing from the interview section all the way in to the first match here of the day. What a way to keep up the momentum. And of course, you know what we're gonna get next. A word here on the floor, given that we wanna hear what's happening.
Would you please give it up, your Game 7 winners, Queasy and Thomas HD! Woo! Boys! That is the way to do a Game 7 on day 2 of Global Championships. Queasy, the high ground was king there again. What a way to start the competition today.
I mean, take high, don't die. It's that simple.
I love that. It's a man of few words, but you know what? They mean a lot. They pack a punch. Thomas, today as well, we see the likes of family in the audience, all these fans here as well. Fort Worth, make some noise for these players! I want to talk about how pivotal it was as well. You saw in the elimination feed, I think the 6th zone, we saw Peterbot and Poyo go down. Did you know then you had to capitalize on that?
I mean, Christians, that's it, like you saw it in the kill feed, so yeah. Like, we just played our game. We didn't think about it, they were in the game, but it doesn't matter for us.
Now that you've seen the 1.5 multiplier making a massive difference today as well, looking at the points, you've really tightened things up at the top. Do you go out the same way again? I mean, obviously high ground being really important there. How did the mid-game change for you guys that time around?
I mean, we will see. I can't tell if we're going to play high or not, but if the opportunity is there, we're taking it.
And it seems as well, Queasy, that each time you guys get that high ground, you're the one sent down just to wipe the floor, get those eliminations. Thomas holds the high, and it's working really, really well.
I mean, yeah, what is there to say? Like, we just take high and we win. There's nothing else to do. Like, we just need to perfect our mid game. And if we get into end game with good match, that's it.
We're looking forward to seeing what happens next. Would you please, one more time forward, give it up for Queasy and Thomas HD! Woo! That is the way to start a day 2 of FNCS Global Championships 2024. Loads more to come. What's going to happen next? We'll find out after this very short break. We'll see you in a few.
Get high, don't die! Get high, don't die! Come on, man. It's too easy.
Bro.
It's too easy.
Fortnite fam, we got a tournament in our hands, baby!
Hey Lev, take height.
Don't die.
Take height.
Don't die.
Ah, let's go! Game number 1 on the day, 7 overall. Queasy, Thomas HD find the victory royale, and they repeat exactly what they said yesterday. Take height.
Don't die, Levin. Levin. Listen, Queasy and Thomas. I mean, the high ground, right? It was working yesterday. They were getting a little bit of pressure, in my opinion, from the likes of Vico and Flixie primarily. But Vico and Flixie go down very, very early on this game. Queasy and Thomas maybe noticed that, right? And was like, listen, we're not going to receive any pressure from them, because what we noticed, Levin, was that they invested all of their match, so much so that when it came down to this 2v2, they almost had nothing left.
I mean, you look at who have been the biggest players on height in the first 6 games. Vico, Flixie up there, Peterbot Poyer up there. Both of those guys down and out of this end game. So much space for Queasy and Thomas to play with up on those layers. And it's just really great to see this from them, Vivid, man. This is what I've been wanting to see from them all year, right? We've always known Queasy to be this dominant high ground IGL. This year, he took a step back from that when it matters the most, though, relying on what he knows best, playing the high ground.
I just cannot believe. And as well, when we kind of saw, I love the way that Queasy kind of commits to that high ground. We kind of look up and it's just cones as far as the eye can see. Most players would just kind of do a few floors, maybe 2 wide. He's just like, nope, this is mine, all of it.
To be fair, there's not many players looking up at it anyway.
Yeah.
But if you did, and you just saw 300 metal just committed to high ground, you're not even bothering to go up there.
Vivid, are you seeing this? Do quick math for me, Vivid. This lead is a lot smaller than yesterday.
23 points now separate Peterbot and Pollo and Queasy and Thomas. The question was, how is anybody going to catch up to them? That 1.5x coming into full effect. A bad game for Peterbot and Pollo. Shambles up on Rift Island, goes down early after trying to land and fight to get back into the game. Queasy and Thomas, they mentioned it in that little bit of an interview right there. They saw it happen in the feed. They played their game to it. And now we've got a tournament on our hands.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Oh, uncharacteristic game from Peterbot and Pollo. They looked like they were working with scraps at times. But Thomas and Queasy, not at all. Still exactly what we saw from them yesterday, where they're looking strong, in good positions to get surge. Thomas in particular, the Monarch pistol again, it is just relentless, the amount of damage this guy is putting in with that.
That's right, and guess what? We actually have a moment from that last game. Let's listen into that game-winning moment.
I'm not gonna. We should remember their skins. We should remember their skins. Yeah. They're dashing. 30 of them. Okay, we know their skins though. Yeah, Catwoman. I got a kill. Disconnected them on the right. Yeah. They have dashes to the Catwoman on the right. Yeah, I see. Here, drop him, I'm going across. I'm armored wall, I'm armored here. Yeah, okay. Armor yourself as well. Yeah, I am. I did. We can get spraying them. I don't have fizz, I don't have fizz. 60 or 100 points, dead. Nice. He's coming up. Going up, yeah, I see. 100. 30. Crack. Dead. Behind you. 1 HP. Dead.
Yeah.
Take height, don't die.
Absolutely amazing stuff there. Just to see them be excited. Levin, I want to double back. You talk about that Monarch pistol in hand. We joked about it at the start of the day. What kind of damage are we actually putting in with this?
Let's take a look at the numbers. Who do you think is going to be leading with the Monarch pistol? Surprise, surprise. No surprise at all. Thomas HD by far and away just crazy with it. Again, if you know anything about Thomas HD and metas of previous years, it would have been the sniper rifle where you would have probably seen him be the leader. He's replaced the Monarch in that sense and is doing the big damage with it, and it's a big part of their success this weekend.
Love that from you, Levin. Honestly, I saw a little bit of a shot right there that we were getting on the stage. It was Thomas and Queasy, right? If they actually turn around in their chairs, guess who's right across from them? Peterbot and Pollo. They were actually staring each other down up there, probably sharing some emotions right there. That's awesome. They're like, hey, listen, it's game on.
That's right. Let's talk about Peterbot and Pollo here for just a moment. Very uncharacteristic out of the duo, right? They obviously had Medallion. They had mythic items in hand, but we kind of go up to Rift Island and they are just in shambles at one point. No materials, no shield.
Well, the big thing for me was that Peterbot and Pollo, they're kind of used to getting the Rift Island uncontested. Usually there was like one other team that was up there yesterday. Sometimes that was kind of just based on the side of it. But we actually saw 2 other teams up there that were interested in even capturing the Rift Island, right? And once we tuned in with them when they were actually up there on the Rift Island, I think they were only like, what, 60 damage above? And usually that's like 400.
That's literally what I was about to say, right? Where it's like, they shouldn't even have to rely on going to Rift Island to be getting their damage. Usually they are much higher before that. I think we're already seeing some changes in the way people are playing around that area of the map in the mid game, and they're clearly struggling with it. They're gonna have to figure things out, and fast.
That's right. 3rd place, Trulex and Chicho just rising up the standings. They're holding that 3rd place. And to think here, Trulex had to do this as a solo player. He has to play heals, but in those moments with this multiplier, those placement points make a difference.
Absolutely. It's exactly what you expect Trulex and Chicho to do. To be honest with it, a bit unfortunate with how that game sort of panned out towards the end. They were doing a good job on some of those mid to low layers. They get cut off, right, on low ground, and usually if you get cut off on low ground, it's, it's possible to reclaim it. The problem was the team that cut them off used armored walls, so they're pickaxing through armored walls to try to get out of the storm, and again they just lose too much time. It forces Trulex to use those medkits earlier than they probably would have wanted to, and that leads to the end of their game. a top 6 ain't bad, but that could have easily been another top 3 for them.
No, but it was super, super good for them, right? Because coming into the day, remember, they were one of those top 5 teams, and we saw actually multiple of our top 5 teams go down. Those being Vico and Flixie went down early. Again, obviously, Peterbot and Pollo went down early. But another one was Acorn and Cole that also went down early. And I think me and Levin, we noticed something very, very fast that game. They were uncontested. They were contested for all 6 games yesterday. So that big switch-up could be affecting things largely.
Those ripples making a difference here. Every little thing can change an outcome, but it is that time. Game number 8 is being ready for us. So casters, on over to you.
Yeah, it does seem like being uncontested now is starting to work against some of the favorites who are up at the top.
Yeah, and for the teams that are having to essentially switch up their strategies, one thing we were noticing, you pulled up something rather interesting from socials. Swizzy even giving the shout out. I will seriously do my best today. So match number 8, let's see if he's got it.
Game number 8 is here. And there is a lot that we have brewing now here inside the Storm and on the Battle Bus, of course, given that the gap has officially closed. And you saw in the interview just moments ago, Queasy mentioning that, hey, if there's enough space between me and third, we're going to do everything it takes to secure number 1.
And that might be one of the worst things ever if you're Peterbot and Pollo. You almost have to try and block it out, but how much can you really ignore when you see the gap chopped so viciously after a singular match because of that 1.5 times point multiplier? But drawing that conversation back to that little note that Vivid had touched on, teams that were contesting each other, they might have gotten very accustomed to having consistent damage. I think Acorn and Cold specifically,
yes,
they were so directly in control of Brittle Beachhead, Alex and Sato. They tried their best, but they realized this is not gonna work out. We've got to completely revamp our strategy for day 2, and now it's up to Acorn and Cole to figure out a new game plan on the fly.
Talking about that, even Huddy and Kovacs now have seemingly demanded their respect from Stroll and Sky, who have given up the Rebels. Roost already moving out. Likely that they had a bad drop here, and these small micro changes will absolutely create domino effects. So what we're looking at, 7th place now, doesn't have as many teams there. We already know Vino and Clix had a little bit of a different situation unfolding at their drop. Peterbot and Pollo had a team move out, right? All of these teams now have to make adjustments.
But Venom moving in quickly towards that launch pad. It's evident with the forecast tower in sight, there's going to be a brawl stemming out of Sandy Steps, but also drawing in the attention of teams surrounding this southern section of the map.
Look at this.
Stored Reels definitely getting active.
Power Alex, Power Worthy continuing to perform very well on the drop. But that mid game, they can tighten things up, possibly leave the Reels faster. They'll be better off. Angles looking good here. All shield bubbles expended, but look at the distance. There is, of course, more players coming in.
Love this snap fly adjustment out of Cooper and Kanata, though. They recognize, hey, we had issues with Surge. What better way than to try and third-party teams that won't be expecting it? Alex and Worthy, they're still trying to chase down Merstash. They find the second elimination. Malabuka and Merstash fall yet again to Oshi, but now Kanata, Cooper, they're not gonna let them relish in the moment for even a second. Kanata immediately breathing down the neck of Alex. He's trying to get a scramble out, but he hasn't had a chance to regenerate anything. He's just hoping that his teammate can try to provide some relief, but Kanata and Cooper, they finally find Alex, and that's gonna be the end of one half of the Oshi Power Boys.
And you can see Alex's only concern there was, let me buy time for my teammate to get out. We can still play this game. So Worthy looking to secure as much loot as possible and then rotate out. Meanwhile, seems like EU's Chap and Teeny here are going against NA Pars and Baka. So far, so good for Pars and Baka, who have a defensive hold inside the factory, but Teeny and Chap likely feeling like it's a little dangerous to step in now. They're gonna take what they can and move on out, it seems.
Teeny possibly reverting back to his old ways. As Chap next to him. Seems like they want to look to try and apply some pressure to any teams that might be looking for some easy fishing strats over by the dock next to the ship it station. Yakko and Swizzy on the other hand, popping up at the raft. They're going to manage to find threats in the process. And this triple contest situation just continues to heat up, but this is a very different Brutal Beachhead vision in comparison to what we've been used to seeing.
Yeah, we got CalGamer, Haman here now, up against Andilex and Sato. Nicely done for Haman, finding Sato with a big elimination here. Now CalGamer has to win his ones, going toe-to-toe for the shot there. Andilex extremely weak, but instead causing the backup, and beautifully done as Haman finishes the deal here for Middle East. And they're gonna find themselves a wonderful set of eliminations. Now the drop is theirs, no Acorn and Cold. So clearly a rotate must have happened and a lot sooner.
They're not the only ones countering some slight adjustments to the loop path and rotation strategies early on. Vico, Flixie next to Bugha and Aviv, but at the same time, some damage was clearly applied. Whether that came from Bugha and Aviv, didn't necessarily get the chance to see, but Vico and Flixie are now inside of the cemetery, and there's a very high likelihood that they're just looking and waiting for the opportunity to make a play for the weapons bunker nearby.
Take a little quick highlight here as we walk away. Unfortunately, King and Phaser gonna be some of the duos caught out. An old risky play walking into a building and a team sitting in the attic. What can you do?
It's almost like how we saw Huddy and Kovacs sitting inside of a bush in match 7. I think a lot of these players, again, you don't really want to get messy. You don't want to cut any corners. You've got to make sure that you are checking every angle, proceeding with caution every step of the way. Otherwise, you might just find yourself off guard. Braids completely exposed. Huddy had the overhead view, but didn't manage to connect the shots.
Still like this angle here. Plenty of gas in the tank here for Huddy. As he slides out, Visual and Braids put up a great fight so far. Huddy opening the distance here, still keeping tabs on the opponent, making sure the teammate doesn't find too much of an angle on him. And then you have in the bush, in the distance, in the base, Muzz and Epic Whale just listening ever so closely. Meanwhile, Peterbot and Pollo making up for match number 7 here in match 8. Trying to farm and fish for tags, right? This is their biggest problem in match number 7. Now that they're uncontested, basically didn't get to get those early fights, right? Things have gone a little bit differently for them. It's becoming a lot more difficult.
It's the same for Clix and Vena, though. They've seemingly been surrounded. We knew that there was going to be a lot of foot traffic coming through this area based off the forecast tower spawn, but with Peterbot and Pollo seemingly in full control of that, Clix, Veno, they're now going to have to choose a new method to try and establish some surge tag damage. And again, with Storm closing in on their backs, they could take their time. They could still potentially loop back around, hit the vending machine that they're familiar with, if that's still standing.
Vino looking to see if he can find any tags anywhere. Meanwhile, Chicho and Trulex, they've been putting on a performance worth studying. You have to start to wonder now, what is it about their drop spot, their mid game, their early game that they've been able to do so well, that they've continued to make end game and then perform at the highest caliber, now being one of the few teams in the race here for the first place. But they still have to keep it up. They've still been contested, although the team that's there has given them a little bit of room to work with. Meanwhile, a team that has a lot less room, Swizzy and Yapko, right? We all know the Raft has been highly fought after. They had 3 Elans, so they're not making it easy for anyone, but hold up, Clix is in a battle.
It's Crisp on the other side of this box, but Clix, Veno definitely looking a lot more healthy than their counterpart, and sure enough, Veno is going to close this one out. That's another elimination. 12 points already. Keep in mind, that point multiplier doesn't just come into effect for the placements, but eliminations also being worth 6 apiece. It's a great way to climb. But Veno, Clix, they've got to be careful sneaking up when they least expect it from 2 separate sides. Aspect, Kazi, Damo resigns. This could go from bad to worse in a moment.
Yeah, Clix already hears the shots coming out here, so they're not slick by any means. He does have a couple of splashes here, so being able to get their HP up is not going to be too much of a problem. Meanwhile, Veno looking to alpha up some positioning over Kazi and Aspect here. Trying to see what this team wants to do. Veno clearly doesn't want to stick around for too much longer. It's a lot of risk involved here. He does have a couple of med kits. I like what he's doing, though. He's inching his way across here, saying if you really want to do this, we're going to do it box to box, mano a mano. And there's the loot that he was trying to secure. Now he has got max mats, and there isn't much more for him to worry about here. However, if they stick around too much longer, I mean, only trouble is waiting for them.
At the same time, they've got to be really careful on how they choose to disembark and rotate out of here, because with so many eyes on, there is a high likelihood they could get tagged up in the process. And it's very nice that Veno was able to secure those max mats, because Clix having to build the entire way as they maneuver out of that location next to Sandy Steps.
Take a look at the highlight here from Chap and Teeny. Strong EU duo, very consistent and for good reason. They take down FKS and Adapter there in a head-to-head engagement. Adapter still standing, actually, as we jump in live here, even after the save, but unfortunate now as they get fully finished. Trap goes down, the save's gonna come in. More shots from the distance here. It's Vico and Flixie hearing what's happening. Bobby and Larpex inside the base nearby as well. In come Muzz and Epic Whale. They hear the action. They're gonna need some surge. So it's a melting pot of regions and competition coming together now.
It's just the way that we're seeing all of these teams essentially conglomerate on top of each other. We didn't get a whole lot of this in day one, but the adjustments that everyone is trying to adapt to last second year, causing so many hiccups for everyone else that teams are encountering across the way. Poyo and Peterbot even working their way through the storm. Got eyes on Yapko and Swizzy. They clearly want the fight, but way off in the distance. Teams a little bit closer to that edge of zone, putting even more pressure still onto Peterbot and Poyo. They are not getting the same clean rotations that they had all day yesterday.
Now keep in mind, this is a team that has landed on each other, right, coming into the season. So Peterbot and Poyo now forcing to back out because tags are coming in from the distance is definitely not ideal by any means. However, if they found the tags that they need, they won't have the problem they had in match number 7, right? They were so far below the surge. This lobby's starting to cut down pretty quick, so we are just gonna have to see what happens when the zone closes here.
Problem though, Peterbot, he's the only one with the medkit. Poyo, he's got to hope that he can find some bandages, a medkit, any form of white heals along the way. But that moment doesn't seem like it's going to come. A lone couple of bananas, and Peterbot knows he's just gonna have to let his duo fall. He'll make the play for the revive after he expends this medkit, but they've still got so much ground to cover, and a team already choosing to close in. Sky, Scroll, they have the immediate collapse. Peterbot, can he get Poyo up?
They've been watching, they saw what happened, and then they saw the name that went down.
to still play the game as if nothing's gone wrong. There's been no spoiler in effect for the first place team because they know their best performance is going to come from 0 distractions.
Crazy to think that if the OCE team didn't rotate in at that time, he would have gotten the bandage off and we would have still seen something potentially unfold. But the reality is now, top 5 is going to shake up.
And at this point, Peterbot and Pollo, they might just have to hit the drawing board themselves because that's 2 for 2 on the start of today. That is just not gone anywhere near the direction that they would have hoped here in day 2. But on a separate note, Thomas HD, Queasy got a nice overview of the rest of the map from their current position, just trying to use some of the natural elevation to base up on. And here at Mount Olympus, a couple of teams nearby, but they've just got so much space boxed out and claimed.
Bryson Bolts with the Rift Island. Chicho and Trulix down low, still sitting pretty in 3rd place right now, based up under the Rift Island. Not an ideal situation to be in here, given that teams won't rotate because they see the island, let alone get a better angle for Chicho and Trulix. Very unlikely, but they have a duo in sight. It'll be important for them to find a couple tags here. 340 above, they should be okay for the time being. However, that's the damage that we're looking for.
Another little bit of a shock, though, as far as our top 5 is concerned. Spinks and Dukes have also been eliminated. They've jumped up a few placements after their match 7 performance. They were sitting inside of top 10, 9th, I believe, to start day 2. So the fact that they've fallen here already just means, again, ample opportunity for some of these other teams to try and leapfrog their way up and over inside of that top threshold of the leaderboard. But Vico, Flixie, first off, they've got to deal with a little bit of pressure from the north side of where they're based. And again, Vico and Flixie, they had some success whenever they were able to find those forecast towers in yesterday's matches, but it's not going to be as easy this time around, and Bryson Bolts are a big part of the reason why.
Bryson Bolts, slow and steady, wins the race, and they have been working their way on up. Just look at those standings right there. Currently in 6th right now. Most of the immediate competition sitting on ice for a second. Another unfortunate run for Cold and Acorn here. And they're a day 2 type of team, so really have to scratch your head and wonder what's happening over there. But Clix and Vino have a lot more to worry about here. Resigns and Demo out of the question here, trying to look for the fight. Vino with a monstrous tag, and they just shut down Resigns and Demo, really showing them who's the kings of this one right now. But Chicho and Trulix have also met their match. What is happening over here?
Rift Island just continues to get even more traction surrounding the baseline of it. Teams that are potentially hoping to try and utilize some of the mobility aspects surrounding it, such as the rifts, and in fact, Chicho, Trulix, they're on the go. But remember, Queasy, Thomas HD, they were sitting on a peak near Mount Olympus. There's a very high likelihood that they're gonna be looking to take some shots at some of these teams rolling in from the Rift Island.
Aviv and Booga are definitely one of those teams as well. They have a lot of high ground. Back on over to Bolts and Bryce, though. Finding Agers out here on the rotate there. Very, very important tags, given that they are just 40 above the damage threshold. So just a couple moments before that starts to affect everyone here. Big moves coming in, though. Once the zone closed, the damage will start to escalate very, very quickly. The later the game goes, the more storm damage it will do per tick of you sitting inside of it. Bolts and Bryce cannot afford to mess around here. They will luckily pull zone to their side. However, they are under the focus of the rest of the lobby. It's not looking good here.
And not only that, but they're also getting battered by these Storm Surge ticks. They need to connect at least one more shot, but they're losing the time to do so because they're having to heal instead. Valuable seconds. They could maybe catch some of these other teams that are also late on the rotate, but instead they're forced to deplete all of their shields, hoping that they don't get cracked because that audio cue might just be enough for somebody nearby to try and key them as well.
Yeah, having to force heal all of their resources at this point. Beautiful tags there is going to give them a little moment of relief. And that's exactly what has to be done here. So makes you appreciate having someone like Boltz on your team who can actually hit the shots that matter most. That means someone else on the lobby right now is taking that damage. If they're above, someone is definitely below. So these trades are happening in real time right now. Looking at the map, teams are starting to rotate in, now starting to get comfortable below them. If Boltz and Bryce can solidify their foundation, they have one of the stronger positions to actually close this game out now.
Almost makes me believe that they could have potentially gotten their hands onto that forecast tower as well, given that they were willing to commit to a rather central position inside of this last zone. But Queasy, Thomas, off the launch pad, they're gonna be some of the first touchdown front side of this next zone, and instantly Queasy trying to see if he can re-establish the height control, same level of success that they had in that last lobby. We know that's their game plan, and so does everybody else in this lobby.
I like that though too. He's got a lot of distance to work with, that natural elevation as well, not looking to overcommit given that the zone's gonna pull here. And it was the right call. It's going far south. You know, these are the things you can't really account for. When the zone starts to bounce like this, it makes a big difference. And Vico and Flixie with an excellent early rotate right now, taking advantage of everyone's decision to kind of wait this one out and come up and formulate a strategy. Huddy and Kovacs, though, below the surge for the first time on the tournament weekend.
And again, keep in mind, this is a duo that hasn't necessarily been struggling with surge, but they've also thankfully managed to find an elimination in the nick of time here. Kovacs gonna put his duo just above 127 now on that damage threshold, but they still got to make this rotate happen. They're trying to build up. They just expended their last Underworld dashes, and now the focus coming back their way as they try to scale this hill face. An armored wall is gonna come out, and Kovacs just seeing if he can remain undetected.
This is so impressive by Chicho and Trulix. Chicho's gonna fall here to the Storm with the refresh, which is so unfortunate, but they've managed to really earn their way through this endgame now. Can Trulix get to safety? They're still a long way in front of them. And it's almost bait that there's a zip line there. Don't take that, Trulix. He knows it. He's gonna avoid that at all costs here, going around the sides now. He's safe, but for how long? Top 20 in sight. Meanwhile, on high ground, other teams now starting to set up the zone. Not as brutal this time around, a little bit more of a forgiving rotate here as things are going across. If you have high ground, though, you are set up. And Cammy and Seti are one of those teams looking to be the day 2 comeback.
But they might not even recognize the fact that Flixie, Vico, they've managed to get this wraparound flank coming from a much less congested side of the zone, but still, Seti, Cammy, they are due for a comeback, and they've got to go massive here if they want to try and overcome a lot of those shortcomings that happened in day 1. Huddy, Kovacs now getting help at the base of this mountain base. The zone pulls through Mount Olympus just so brutal with all these shifts in the elevation.
Vico Flixie still alive as well right now, moving their way up, actually utilizing the zip line for a moment there. A little bit cautious though as he want to get to his teammate here. Who's on this ramp? There he is. Here comes the heals. They see a player below them, but they can't even afford to stick around. Unfortunately, Flixie misses the jump there. He'll just have to be caught up. Vico takes the build, breaks them all through the zip line there, and now he is crushing his way through. Meanwhile, Bryce coming up behind them. Kovacs lands a shot on him. It's not safe at all here inside the top 15.
The zipline trick is not going to work out twice here as Bryce hoping that he can have an opportunity to utilize some of the last bits of that Flowberry Fizz. But again, Cammy, Seti, full control of the high ground. But keep your eyes on Blitz and Benno. They started ramping up. They might actually be close enough to get within striking range. And Thomas HD, Queasy, similar mentality.
This has to be the hardest zone to make your rotate across here. Queasy knows it. Beautiful tag there, but not enough to stay alive. Thomas HD will make it into the top 10, top 7 now. Vico still standing as well. This is probably the most difficult zone we have ever had at one of these invitationals. At this lane here, it just gets so intense now. But give it a moment here, let things breathe. Vico's found his footing, down goes Thomas, top 5 now. Just moments away here from a potential win for Cammy and Seti now.
But the fact is, Vico is clutching up some very needed points as far as overcoming the top 3 inside the leaderboard. He's got the last little bits of his Flowberry Fizz to work with. Now he just needs to unleash. We know what kind of solo clutch potential he has in store. If he can find another elimination or 2, that could be the difference. But Click instead gonna bring that one home.
Comes out of nowhere with a huge shot in the top 3 to put him right back into things here. It's Pixie who's still alive alongside Giannis. It's a 2v2. They have enough health and just enough material to make this one very interesting. Armored walls now starting to come out. Cammy doing the same here to try to conserve some material. Seti's got a lot to work with, but so many armored walls are gonna buy them time, buy them room, right? There's still the clock running here. Nice counterfire now coming up to the high ground. Giannis is exceptionally well in these situations, but it's not looking good. Cammy and Seti are just chopping away now.
Seti even opting for the drop down, but it might not even be necessary. The Polish Pantheon looking to try and take over here. Pixie, Giannis scrambling around the low ground, but Pixie falls. Only one remains. Seti's gonna look to find it.
Nice.
Seti takes it with the victory royale.
7 eliminations for Cammy and Seti. Seriousness on their face, given that they know there is a long tournament in front of them. Match number 8 is gonna close out, and it's incredible to think that this is a team that is always so prepared, right? So it's a new day.
Would you please give it up? Your Game 8 winners is Cammy and Seti! Should I hop up for me there, fellas? I'll come down, I'll come down. What a day, what a start to the day. Second game, a victory royale. You guys have been in this position before. Walk us through the end game there. It seemed that the high ground once again reigned supreme.
Yeah, I mean, we were dead side, so we just took the high ground because it was very free. And I think this is the first game that we really had Surge. And yeah, we're just gonna try to do our best to have Surge in other games and then try to win more.
Well, you guys as well, you've been in this position before, our 2022 Invitational winners. What kind of experience does that, guys, give you in moments like this, having been through the likes of that?
I don't even know, we just played high and we won, like, I don't know. We just need to focus on the next games, maybe we win some more, and yeah, we will see.
You seem very locked in as well here. As we can see, the 1.5 multiplier really changing things up on the leaderboard. A few more games like that, and who knows, you could be lifting the trophy again, Seti. Who knows? For you guys, how do you push through now? What do you do next?
I think we just have to stay calm, get Surge, and try to win more games. That's it.
And lastly, I want to say, it's a big day as well for Seti here, folks. It's someone's birthday today, okay? On a count of 3, can we all say happy birthday? 1, 2, 3! There you go. Whatever happens, thousands of people chanting your name. One more time, give it up for Cammy and Seti! Happy birthday, buddy. And on that note, Game 8, as you can see, things are really changing on the leaderboard now. What will happen next? We're going to find out once again. A short break from us. Do not go anywhere. Don't be silly. There's loads more global championships coming your way right after this.